Hello everybody, I'm Tin Starfish, and welcome back to Create Aeronautics. In the previous episode, we got started here in the world and built our first vehicle, but if we take a look at it right now, it's missing a few components. And that's because while updating the version of Aeronautics to the newest one, I logged into my world, but the mod wasn't updated properly. Apparently it was disabled, so when I opened up my world, all of my tires are gone and my engines and basically everything with the Create Aeronautics off-road or the other one were all disabled. So I am going to go ahead and pop into creative and just put my tires back on. I just wanted to be up front. I'll also get my engines back here. I was messing around with this and I did put 3 engines on here. However, it didn't actually speed it up. I will put all 3 back here just to have things as they were, but we'll probably be removing them and hopefully eventually we can get a rotation speed upgrade for our machines. And by the way, if you haven't actually seen the creative menu for this mod, it's actually really cool. They have like banners and everything. And if you hover over this, it starts to spin, the clouds go, it's pretty cool. And something else I did in between episodes as well is I upgraded to large tires, and that seemed to help out a little bit. Obviously I'm just going to get these back, but I don't think it needs large tires. I just think it needs a little more speed. All right, let's just pop these back on. And hopefully we can do this right. Okay, it popped it up. Here we go. Ooh, I don't know how I'm going to get to the other side here. Oh, my handles are also missing. Okay. Let's get these on. Should be able to pull it over now. And get these last couple of tires on. Here we go. Alright, I'll clean up my inventory here. And we can get back on into the episode. Let me make sure there was nothing else in here. I think this was everything that we had. Alright, so what are we going to be working on today? At the end of the previous episode, I mentioned that I wanted to finally get started with a automatic drilling machine that would allow us to go underground and dig out a pretty decent chunk. So I think that that's what we're going to be doing today. And obviously there's a way to do it in default creative with a contraption. You just put a bunch of drills at the front of it. So I think we're going to sort of emulate that today. But we're going to be using Create Aeronautics instead. So as a part of Create Off-Road, we have these rock cutting wheels. And basically what these do is they act like the drills. However, you can actually spin them using the borehead bearing. And when the borehead spins, the heads will also spin. And I think with it like this, with 2 of them in a 3x3, they'll actually cut away in a 3x3 area. And that should work for us, just so long as we keep our machine fairly small. The preview here is actually showing us that it is indeed a 3x3. It's also important to note that all of the drops go inside of the drill head storage, which is the block that's sort of on the end there, in between the 2 bore heads. So to craft these, unfortunately, we are going to need crushing wheels, which means that we're going to need to get into mechanical crafters, which means that we're going to need brass, which means basically we're going to have to go to the Nether today. So I'm going to need to spend a little bit of time mining. So I'm going to use a little bit of the gold that I found to upgrade my backpack into the gold backpack, which definitely has a lot more room in here. We should definitely get into upgrading this. But in order to upgrade it, we are going to need string. Now, I did find a single flax seed underground, so hopefully that can grow and get us some more string. But we'll just have to deal with that all later. For now, it's time for me to sort out my inventory and then head back underground. Wow, I just have to pause the montage there. That was like a huge diamond vein, probably one of the biggest I've ever seen. So that is pretty good. I think that's all I really need, honestly. I only really needed 3 diamonds, so I might spend a little more time. I found a pretty decent cave here. There is deep dark down here as well, so it's a little bit dangerous. But there's quite a few diamonds here, so not too bad. And by the way, when I died earlier, I did actually respawn on this bed here, which means that this does function fully as a bed. Like, I just slept in it for the night, and so yeah, it's basically just a real bed. That's pretty cool. All right, let's get this diamond pick made. Here we go. And now I want to take our vehicle that we made in the previous episode, and I guess I'll feed all 3 engines. That's probably a waste of coal, considering this thing doesn't get any faster. Oh, I don't have my linked controller on me. Hopefully this is all still working. I didn't give it a test yet. Oh man, it might not be working. Oh, right. Oh, that just fell off, I think. It's missing one of the major components, actually. I'll just have to deal with this later. I might end up disassembling this thing anyway. Just because I kind of want to build a better version of it. So I guess for now, I'm just gonna have to walk over to the lava pool like a peasant. You know, I'm seeing these horses. Huh. I wonder if you could make like a horse-drawn carriage or something? I think that could be something cool to kind of test out. You'd probably have to be riding the horse and then draw like a wagon behind you or something. I think that could be pretty cool. Maybe there's like a Wild West expansion for this expansion to a mod sometime down the line. All right, and first piece of obsidian obtained. Now I just need 12 more, something like that, 20 more. I think there's something wrong with my portal. Huh. Oh, that looks really weird. Oh, apparently I can go through. And I am very surprised that worked, actually. Now I'm curious if I can actually go back through. I wonder what's gonna happen. Oh. Interesting. It made a new portal over here. So yeah, nether portals do work with the Create Aeronautics. However, it is a little bit buggy. It would be cool if you could just actually go back through these portals, but maybe someday. Let's see if I go back through again, it'll go to the same place. Okay. So I'm here in the nether for a couple of things. The first and the most important is to find a blaze. I also need to grab a little bit of netherrack to actually capture the blaze. So let's see if I can find some. We kind of have the worst spawn in the game, unfortunately, here. Ooh, there's a bastion right next to me, though. Alright, so if I gather a little bit of netherrack, and I get a little bit of iron sheets, 4 of them exactly, we can actually make these empty blaze burners. I'm just going to get 5 for now. That should do. We might as well get 6, actually. By the way, in between episodes, I did also slightly upgrade this setup down here just to make making engines a little bit faster. So I just have a geared up ratio over here of large cogwheels and small cogwheels, and then those just speed up the press and the saw over here. Nothing too fancy yet, but in the future we will definitely be upgrading this by a lot. So now I just need to look around for a nether fortress. Hopefully we can find one pretty easily. I'm not seeing any on the map quite yet, but it shouldn't take too long. First try. Alright, so another thing that I need here is quartz. We don't need this right away. However, it's always nice to have a little bit of quartz. Actually, I take that back. We're going to need this for rose quartz. So, yeah, I definitely need to grab as much as I can. Alright, so I have managed to finally navigate to a nether fortress. Oh gosh. Okay, I need to hide. I fell pretty far, so I'm a little bit low on health. It might not be. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, if we take a look at the map, I went all the way from over here down here and finally saw it on the map. I wasn't entirely sure, but now I'm definitely sure. So with our empty blaze burners in hand, all we need to do is right click a blaze spawner and it'll actually fill them all up. Whoops, I placed that on the ground. And we can just now immediately leave if we want to. I don't really have anything else I need to do out here. But it does kind of feel like a bit of a wasted trip, but honestly, that's fine. Alright, and now that we're back out of the Nether, we can finally start working on making some brass. The recipe for this is pretty simple. We're just going to need copper ingots and zinc ingots. However, first we're going to need a mechanical mixer as well as a basin. To make the basin, we just need andesite alloy in sort of a cauldron shape. And there's our basin. The mechanical mixer is a little more complicated. We need to make a whisk for this, which is just 5 iron sheets and 2 andesite alloy. Really not too bad overall. Then we're going to need another andesite casing and a cogwheel. And that's everything we need to make the mechanical mixer. I'm also going to make an additional cog because we're actually going to need it to power the mechanical mixer. So let's head back down to our little create setup here. I've added an additional gearbox here. So all I need to do is add the cogwheel here. We need that and the basin. So I'm going to put the cogwheel... Oh, don't hop on the saw. So I'll put that down here. And then just up against the cogwheel, I'll place our mechanical mixer. So that's in a pretty decent spot here. And then we'll place the basin down below. Similar to the mechanical press, it just needs a block of space in between. And then we're also going to need a blaze burner down below it. Now, I think I should be able to reach it from here. Yeah, so basically we just need to give this coal and that will superheat the basin and will allow us to make our brass. By the way, for this recipe to work, you do need the actual ingots. The raw variant will not work for this. So just keep that in mind. So we'll throw our zinc ingots and our copper ingots inside of the basin, and you'll notice that it won't start mixing until we give the blaze burner some fuel. And then that'll start going, and it'll do one at a time, one craft at a time, and each craft will produce 2 brass ingots. Then we can just right-click the basin to pull out our brass ingots. With brass ingots, we can make all sorts of various different contraptions, including a portable drill, which might actually be pretty useful. This is basically kind of what I wanted to do in the first episode with a contraption-based portable drill. This is more like an actual pickaxe. And it just takes coal and water to fuel it. It's pretty good. But what we're wanting to make is the mechanical crafters, which we're going to need brass casings for. And to get brass casings, we just need to basically do the same thing that we do with the andesite casings. So I'll put down some logs here. Let's just make 6 for now. Go ahead and strip those, and then you just right click, and that makes our brass casings. And for the mechanical crafters, we also need to make electron tubes. These are pretty simple. We're just going to need iron sheets and polished rose quartz. To get polished rose quartz, you need to sand down some rose quartz. Rose quartz is just nether quartz mixed with redstone dust. So if I do my math correctly here, we need 21 mechanical crafters to make our crushing wheels. So I think we're going to need to make 7 crafts, because each craft for the mechanical crafters makes 3. Also, to make sandpaper, it's pretty simple. We just combine paper and sand. And then what you just need to do is hold either the rose quartz or the sandpaper in your offhand and just hold right click. This can also be automated later on, but we don't really have the factory built yet for that. So we'll just combine those with our iron sheets. All right, and I think I have everything now to make all of our mechanical crafters. Actually, I think I'm 1 brass casing short, but I'll make that in just a second here. And now we have all 21 mechanical crafters. And for the crafters, I usually like to have my own individual setup for these. especially with their own power, because it does take a lot of power, and sometimes these can get pretty big as well, especially if you're in a mod pack with custom crafting recipes. For now, we basically just need a center 3x3 with 3 along each side. So I need to go up by 1 more here, put 3 on the side there, and 3 more right here. So they're all kind of connected together with these little belts, and that kind of tells you the direction that the item is going to go into. It'll be a little more easy to explain later on, but essentially I am going to need a wrench for this. And wrenches are pretty easy to craft. You just need 3 golden sheets, a cogwheel, and a stick, and here's a wrench. This is useful for a lot of things, especially if you need to quickly reconfigure something. For example, I can just pop off this large cog, for example, and then just put it back on. But with the mechanical crafters, this will actually allow us to rotate all of these various different sort of belts. So I want to make sure that it appears down here at the bottom. So I want to make sure that they all sort of point towards, maybe we go to the center and then down. All right, and I've cleared a little area here for our water wheels, and this last one might be a little bit hard to get on here. There we go. So that should now be powering this. It's not overstressed, which is good. It is going to be moving pretty slowly though, so that is one thing, but it's honestly not too bad, especially when you don't have to use it that often. A music disc just started playing? Oh, there's a creeper deep underground with a backpack on. I had to disable that just in case it's copyrightable. Alright, so we should now be ready to make our crushing wheels. These are pretty expensive. We're going to need 16 andesite alloy for planks and any kind of stone. Alright, I've gathered everything that I need for this, so let's begin to put some stuff inside of these slots. So we need to fill the outside with andesite alloy. We need 1 stone in the center and 4 planks surrounding that. You'll see that it begins to sort of very slowly move. All of the items will make their way towards the center. That's still one of the coolest animations in this mod. Alright, so we have our crushing wheels. By the way, with the slowest water wheel speed, that took about a minute and probably like 10 seconds. So it is pretty long, so I definitely recommend speeding it up a little bit if you can. So next up, we're going to need a couple of blocks of industrial iron. To get this, we just need to run an iron ingot either through a stone cutter or through the saw. By the way, a cool mechanism of the mechanical saw is you can actually click in here with a block and it will filter so that it only makes that item. So if I throw my iron in there, it should go through and make our blocks of industrial iron. So now we can combine our crushing wheels with our blocks of industrial iron and 2 iron sheets, and we'll get our rock cutting wheels. And next up, I'm going to need a borehead bearing. This will actually allow the rock cutting wheels to spin. So this is just a oak slab, gearbox, and a block of industrial iron. Really not too bad overall. Alright, so I have a large water wheel here so we can kind of demonstrate kind of how this all works. So this actually won't need glue, I'm pretty sure. So we can just place this directly onto the water wheel. You notice it won't start spinning yet. I'm not entirely sure if it needs an input on the back or if that'll have to come out the side. So we'll put a barrel down in the center and our rock cutting wheels. Let's try to see if they'll face forwards. Here we go. A little something like that. We can break these bits of cobblestone. And now if we right click this, will that begin to work? No, I think I need to break this. Maybe shift right click it? Oh no, okay. Okay, so I think I got it working now. Unfortunately, it does not work with my shaders active. So I can't even see this going on right now. So it'll begin to dig. It looks like it's too slow to dig this stuff out right now, but that's fine. I think that these will rotate at 0.25 times the speed of the input. So we'll probably need to go pretty fast with our machine. Another thing that I'm noticing that I didn't think would be a problem is that it is digging the ground. So I wonder if I have to go maybe a block higher, if that'll help with this. Alright, so I decided to take some of my testing into creative and actually try to figure out how to make a lot of these things. So I've spent about a week learning how to make a proper vehicle in Create Aeronautics. So I have some of my experiments lined up here, so I guess we can just go through and kind of talk about them. So the first thing that I began on was trying to figure out how to make an engine. And of course I wanted it to be steam powered, so we are using a steam engine here. This is going to help a lot because it's really only going to require lava as a fuel source. And so we are using a blaze burner with a straw. Basically that will allow you to use a regular blaze burner, which normally only uses coal, and will actually allow you to pump fluids into it. Over on the side here, we have a fluid hatch from the Create Dragons Plus mod. And if I break that, we'll see that we actually have a tank right here. This is where you would actually fill up your lava, basically your fuel for the engine. We have a fluid shutoff valve here just so it doesn't waste all of your lava. And I tried to make this thing overall as small as possible just because it's going to be on a vehicle. So we do have, it is a little bit hard to see everything, but here's our tank. Then right here, we actually have a steam engine. The power from the steam engine goes directly into a rotation speed controller. From the rotation speed controller, we have a stressometer and a speedometer. These aren't entirely necessary. I was just using them for testing. And that power goes back to the pump for the water, which the water tank is back here. This is an infinite water source, so it just pulls all the water from here. In the future designs, I actually managed to make this entire thing smaller, but this was sort of the first experiment. To start, this is actually pretty cool. I have a kinetic battery from Create Connected. Basically what this allows you to do is store rotational energy or stress units as almost more of a power. And then when you activate it with redstone, it'll actually lag for a bit. And it will start up. I think I found out later on using a lever is a lot better for this. We also don't have any lava in here. So after figuring out my engine, what I did was move on to attach it to a vehicle. This first experiment basically just uses the same chassis design that I used for the mobile truck base. And basically all I did with this was just slap it on the back. This is the exact engine design as well. It's just on a chassis, and yeah, it does work. I think, yeah, I don't have the remote control for it, but I'm pretty sure that it is fully functional. And this design was pretty good. However, it was really back heavy. Also, because it hangs over the edge back here, you can't actually reverse over any block, so it is a little bit too bulky of a design to be usable, especially for a mining machine. So my next design after that was to simplify the engine and sort of incorporate it a little bit more into the chassis design as well. So the engine itself is so much smaller now, and we have a bigger fuel tank as well. So we have a 2x2 steam engine here on the back. It's the same size, but it does look overall a lot smaller. I decided to raise the water source up higher and only use a single mechanical pipe instead of the full pipe design that I used over here, and it definitely reduced the form factor by a lot. I also experimented around a little bit more with the starter. I tried to use the redstone links and everything for that as well. ultimately, I think I decided not to use the battery just because it's a little bit hard to use. Like, it doesn't pass through power, and I don't know, I found that it just pops off randomly sometimes, so I decided to go a different direction with it. This was also the first design where I had an actual seat. Oh, and I do have the controller for this one as well. Let's see if this one still works, actually. So, by the way, if you have a controller in your hand and you right-click a seat, it actually automatically uses it, which is pretty cool. Oh, okay, that left tire isn't actually linked up. Oh, that's fine. This was also the first design that I integrated the analog transmission, basically allowing me to speed up or slow down the entire machine. It worked pretty good, but I don't know. I find it a little bit difficult to use, and it also, I thought it worked a little more like the rotation speed controller, but it actually, like, I think it can up to double the rotation speed controller's speed. So technically this shouldn't be 256, this should be 128. But this design is overall a little bit weird. I did like this. This was actually the first experiment as well, where I put magnets on the front. And I was originally planning to have like a detachable like utility system where you could have like different attachments. Maybe if I wanted to put a harvester on the front, or my mining drill, or maybe some extra storage or something. Unfortunately, the magnets are a little bit wonky and they don't stick as much as I feel like they should. Especially if you're trying to like mine into something, a lot of the times they just will not stick. So I think experimentation with this in the future is definitely going to be something I try to do as well. And we do also have these docking connectors from Create Simulated. I think that's probably what I actually wanted to use, but I just never got around to trying these out. So after this, I decided to work on trying to figure out sort of the, well, it was going to be an attachment. This is actually the first attachment that I worked on. It's a little bit big and bulky. I was also trying to figure out how the swivel bearing works with this. So this ended up not working at all. It had its own steam engine and everything on it. It was way too heavy for my machine though, however. It also didn't articulate very well. I was also using the mechanical drills here for some reason. I think I thought that these were just going to be cheaper. However, they just kind of get stuck when you're trying to drill straight into something. I think it's due to how like the wheels are just slightly too big. They're not a block tall. They're like a half of a block tall. So it pulls the drills up just tiny bit and puts them at an angle. And yeah, that just, it doesn't really work out here. So after that, I tried to work on getting an articulated arm working, and it did work. However, every time that I would like move it, or I tried to put it in a schematic, it would just not work for some reason. They would all just come apart. I would right click the swivel bearing, and I'm surprised it didn't break off that time there. But yeah, this entire arm would fall off. This drill right here was actually attached over here, and it fell off every time I tried to attach it to my machine over here. So this experiment didn't really work. I did learn a lot from it though, and we do actually end up implementing the swivel bearing in our final design as well. So after learning quite a few things about Create Aeronautics, I decided to try out a belt system for almost a tire tread, and I think that this is actually really cool. It's definitely a lot more stable, and so if you're using like heavy equipment, I definitely think that this is the way to go. This is also, I think, the smallest I've ever gotten my steam engine to be, and I think it can actually technically be smaller. However, the last time I tried this, I did just update my mods. I had a fluid vessel here instead of the fluid tank. The fluid vessels are actually kind of cool because you can put them down horizontally instead of vertically. And it looks like probably this isn't gonna work. Let's try to hand crank this. Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like the fluid vessel from Create Connected just isn't working with contraptions right now, unfortunately. So yeah, I am using just a 2x2 tank here with a pipe here instead, just like that. And now, yeah, that definitely works. So hopefully in the future, when the fluid vessels and Create Connected gets like updated for this, or if there's a compatibility mod for this, it will definitely be a little bit smaller. So the tread system is a little bit weird, and it's actually really cool. So basically each side rotates independently. So is this the controller? Will this one work? Okay, it will. So if I hold down right on, or like D on my keyboard, the left tread will actually go. Let me unlock this. So if I hold down right, the left one goes, and if I hold left, the right one goes. It should be moving right now. Here we go. And then if I hold down both left and right, it moves forward. Oh, I also need to speed up the rotation speed controller. This goes up to 128. And that'll start working, and now I should be able to turn. So I did try to make it so that if you were turning left, for example, the left side of the treads would try to move backwards, but I couldn't really figure that out, and it was taking up way too much time. So I think that this works. It's already like it really already has a good turning radius. So I don't think it really needs it, but it's pretty cool either way. And to go backwards, by the way, you actually hit shift, and that reverses the directional gear shift, and then you can go backwards. So from here, we have the next form from this. This is a little bit more of an experimentational one. I forgot this was back here. This thing can get pretty heavy in the front, especially when you're adding more drills on the front. So I had to add a bunch of super heavy blocks onto the back. So this is a little bit more of an experimental version of it. That's just due to the boreheads here. I was trying to figure out the perfect size for the rock cutting wheels. I think that this is a little bit too big. And if we take a look here, this is actually the tunnel that design specifically makes. The other one's a little bit more of like a heart shape. Let's see if we can find it. Yeah, right here. This is the design that I think I'm going to be going with. It's a little more messy overall, I feel, but it is going to be cheaper on the materials. Also, the other design, this one actually requires the drill head to be at, I think it was exactly like 30 degrees, I want to say. So it is a little bit like awkward to use. But yeah, so we can talk about the articulating arm here as well. Let's see if this one's linked up. Yeah, so if I press S, it'll lift it up. W will push it down. It is too close to the ground here, so it's trying to pop off a little bit. This is probably the smoothest I've ever actually gotten it, though. And to control the boreheads as well, you actually just shift right click this analog lever, and the less signal it has, the faster that these will actually spin. This is at our max engine speed. So you just right click to go. 14 is really, really, really slow, but 15 will completely turn it off. And we're using another analog transmission on the other side. This one stays at 14 though. This just controls the speed of the rotation of the drill head. Otherwise it'll go way too fast and it's way too hard to control. All right, but it is time to talk about our final design here. And this is the fully decorated version and what we're going to be building in our world. So we're using two different rock cutting wheel like bearings here. And by the way, these do actually just have brass funnels on the bottom. The way that these work, I think I talked about it in the episode already. Basically, they need a storage inside, but Sophisticated doesn't work with this yet. So unfortunately, we just have to use regular barrels from Minecraft and they fill up way too fast. So if you put a brass funnel on the bottom here and just have it set in drop mode, it'll actually drop the items on the ground. And then I have a backpack inside of here that will actually, it has a magnet upgrade inside of it, and it will just pick up all of the items that are dropped. It's not the most elegant solution, but it is a solution. And the design itself, I kind of wanted to go for almost a modern industry, almost a futuristic industry kind of design for this. It's almost a satisfactory design, I want to say. Kind of Aeronautics inspired. I'm not sure. I just really liked the orange design, so I went with that. I think most of our machines are going to have a black and orange sort of design here. I also added this massive polished deep slate counterweight on the back here, and that's just because when we're actually digging underground, it can get pretty vertical sometimes. It tries to dig straight down sometimes, so the weight on the back will actually hold down the back a little bit better. And there's also a rope winch because sometimes it will definitely get stuck while mining. And yeah, over here I have a hole that I was digging out with this. It did get a little bit steep here, but yeah, it is pretty good at actually digging down. And I think as I get better with controlling it, this will be easier as well. Also, I think when we actually build it in survival, I'm going to build it down at the deep slate levels and just have it mine flatly, because I don't really want to move this thing around too much. But speaking of survival, I think it's about time that I leave creative. It's been a whole week of just working on all of this, and head back into survival and try to... Alright, so I made a schematic of the machine. So what we need to do is actually make a schematic, an empty schematic. So we're gonna need light blue dye and a piece of paper, and that will make our empty schematic. So what I need to do now is, I think I just right click this. No, I need a schematic table. That's right. So we're gonna need 3 slabs, 2 smooth stone. Here we go. And I'm gonna need a pretty big and flat area to actually build this in. So I'll probably end up sort of flattening this area out. But for now, I'll place down my schematic table, right click it, put my empty schematic inside, and find our tunnel bore decorated. And then you just hit the check mark and that will upload it to a schematic. And then I think we just, yeah, we hold it in our hand. Wow, this thing's pretty big. I guess back here is fine. So right click it and that will show it in the world here. And this thing is so huge. Okay, so I'll have to clear this area out. Next up, I'm gonna need a schematic cannon, which I don't think we have enough iron for. So I'm probably gonna have to do a little bit of resource gathering here. Yeah, we definitely don't have enough. Alright, and here's everything I needed for the schematic cannon. And I'm also going to make a clipboard. Now we can just go ahead and place the schematic cannon down, and I think if we just right click this, we can put our schematic inside of it. This is also going to require gunpowder to work, but first I want to actually get basically a material checklist from this. So all you need to do is put a clipboard inside of the slot here. And then we can right click and we see everything that we need, whoops, in order to actually build this thing. So it doesn't look like it's going to be too much. Yeah, pretty small. Definitely a lot of different sort of blocks here, but really it shouldn't be too bad. So I'll get a chest placed down next to the schematic cannon, and it will actually automatically take all of the items from this chest as soon as we get some gunpowder in here. But I do think that I'm gonna return to the grind and try to get all of these items and finally build this machine. Alright, so I've gathered basically all of the materials that we need so far. However, there's one thing that I'm kind of struggling with, and that is actually finding honey. I've explored my nearby area pretty decently far out, and unfortunately all of the bee nests are empty. So I think I'm going to have to go a little bit further out, probably out to this area that I just explored not too long ago, to get cocoa beans, I believe I was looking for. So I think I'm just gonna head back out here. So one thing about Create Simulated is that you actually need honey glue for certain things. It acts just like super glue in the base Create mod. However, I think it's a little bit more useful. And of course, we'll talk about it as soon as I find some honey. I'm also gonna need to get it inside of a spout, which means that we kind of need a little bit of a honey setup going. Luckily, there is a birch forest here, which I believe has a higher chance of spawning bees, so hopefully we can get pretty lucky with this. Oh, I see a couple bees on the mini-map. Here we go. Nice. I see one of them flying around. I am curious if I can get it in the boat. I do have the carry-on mod. Let's see if I can grab this bee. Here we go. And stick it in the boat, maybe? Okay, that worked. Nice. And the other one is still inside of the nest. Unfortunately, I don't have Silk Touch, otherwise I would just pick this up, but Yeah, it looks like we're gonna have to either wait for it to come out or just transfer. Oh, there it is. Here we go. Now another question is, how am I gonna get both of them back? I think what I'm gonna have to do is drive the boat back and forth. And because we're in 1.21.1, we don't actually have the new lead changes, so it's gonna be a little bit difficult to do this. Oh, right, I completely forgot that the carry-on mod actually lets you stack entities, so I actually have them both in the back here. Now, hopefully I can get in the water gently and not go under, because bees do take damage in water. Oh, but it looks like we're golden. Nice. And now problem number 2 is that we don't have any honeycomb to make any new bee nests. We also can't move our bee nests. So I think I'll have to come up with some way to get some more honey. I didn't really think this part through. Alright, so I found a relatively close by bee nest to me, and I think I'm just going to set it up as a little farm here. So I'll put some dirt down, a dandelion in front of it, an oak slab, I guess off to the side. I was going to do it over in front, but there's not really a lot of room. And this way faces my base, so I think this will just be a little bit easier. Place down some blocks, and then I just need to go and get my bees and set them inside. Alright, and yep, he wandered in there, and both are in there now. So it's just going to take a little bit of time to get some honey built up, and we should be good. In the meantime, I'm going to work on a few things, starting with a spout so that we can actually fill our thing with honey. And we'll need a tank to store some of that honey as well. We'll need a pump to move some of our fluids. And of course, with the create mod, you can actually move honey around as a fluid, which is pretty neat and convenient. And I kind of want the option to either get honeycombs or honey, so I think I am not going to do a tank here. I think I'll just put the pump on the side, spout here with a depot beneath so that we can fill our items up, and then I'll just put a hand crank. And actually, if we use a crank wheel, we can actually just attach this directly onto the side here, and that will actually allow us to pull the honey out directly. So if I give this a little bit of a turn, we should see honey, inside of the spout now. And while we wait for the honey to build up a little bit, I kind of wanted to talk about the rotation speed controller. Now, I could have done this during the montage, however, I kind of wanted to talk about it. So the rotation speed controller is one of the most important basically blocks in Create. This will basically allow you to speed up any rotational force from like slow to fast or from fast to slow. Now these guys require a brass casing and a precision mechanism. Precision mechanisms are something that we're definitely going to be fully automating later on. However, for right now, it is a little bit of a complicated process. Basically, we take a golden sheet and run it through 3 different deployers. The first one is filled with small cogwheels, second is large cogwheels, and then the third is an iron nugget. And we have to run each one of these through 5 different times, and there's an 80% chance that it succeeds and a 20% chance that it fails. Deployers are also something that we haven't really talked about, but we can briefly go over them. Basically, they allow you to place objects in the world. They're also useful for a lot of create crafts, so they're definitely something we're going to be making a lot in this series. To make them, you need a brass hand and some brass sheets, really not too complicated. So here's our brass hand. And this also does require an electron tube, so you do need to go to the Nether before making this. You also need it for the brass as well, but here is our first deployer. And by the way, this process can be done manually with a single deployer, which is what I'm going to be doing for now. So what we want to do is right click our golden sheet on a depot, and then I just have these all sort of separated out. I found that this is the easiest way to do this. So basically, I'll put my small cogwheel in. It will deploy there. You see it's an incomplete precision mechanism now. Large cogwheel, that deploys. Then an iron nugget. And then, yeah, we're just going to have to repeat this 5 times. And hopefully it doesn't fail. All right, this is our last iron nugget. Let's see, moment of truth. Oh no, it did fail. That's a huge waste of resources, but it shouldn't be too bad to do that again. And of course I'm out of andesite, so I need to go and mine some more. Man. But third time is the charm, and we finally have our precision mechanism. So now we just combine a brass casing with a precision mechanism, and there's our rotation speed controller. Alright, and checking up on the honey, it looks like we might have enough to create this now. And it looks like we have it now. Nice. I also need to spend a little bit more time here, and because I actually need to wax some of our copper items, so yeah, we're gonna need to stay here for just a little bit longer, but we should almost be ready to finally make our contraption. Alright, so I AFK'd for a little while, finally got my honeycombs, and now I can wax my cut copper stairs and my cut copper blocks. Oh man, okay. I think this is finally it. We are just about ready to make the mining machine. As soon as we get these blocks inside of here, I should have a clipboard somewhere. Right, we're also gonna need gunpowder for this as well. All right, so when I put this material checklist inside of the schematic cannon, we should see everything checked off. We have the honey glue here. I don't know if it'll use it or not. Let's, here we go. I'm just gonna put it inside of this chest. I think that'll work because the, let's see. The rotation speed controller, I mean, it's not up here, so it should be working. Let's see, let's check again. Here we go, nice, that's everything checked off of our list. So now we just need to put some gunpowder in here. I'm gonna start a time lapse. I have no idea if this is gonna work or not. It hasn't really been working for me so far, but let's go ahead and press play, and it's gonna begin building. Alright, and according to the schematic cannon, it is done. There is a few leftover pieces here, though. I'm hoping that everything got placed correctly, though. We'll just have to see. So I'm gonna grab my honey glue here. Okay. So we can see that this part got glued correctly. That's really good. However, the rest of it is not glued. So yeah, our rock cutting wheels are, yep, that's all correct. This is the rotation point. I think that's all good here. So I think I'll just have to connect basically everything else, which really shouldn't be too bad. By the way that this honey glue works, basically, I think I mentioned this before, it's very similar to the regular super glue. However, let's just make sure that I did that right. If you hold down control while looking at a certain side, you can actually scroll it out, and it also doesn't care if the blocks are all connected together or not, so it should be perfectly fine with something like that. Definitely don't want to bring that grass along with me. Here we go. Also probably shouldn't be doing this at night. Oh man, and I'm also curious if the redstone link is hooked up. Yeah, I should probably take a look at that. That's definitely one of the most important parts. Otherwise, I might have to go through and like reconfigure everything. It shouldn't be too bad, but I might have to get pretty far under this and maybe take away some of the decoration blocks. But for now, I think that that's all good. I think it's all glued together. Just doing a double check here, a little inspection. Definitely never hurts. All right, I think we're good to go. I'm actually getting a little bit nervous for this, surprisingly. This has been a little bit of a long time coming, and this is actually kind of my first like big machine in this world. So I'm going to use a physics assembler, and oh gosh, big lag. I think it worked. I'm not entirely sure if it worked or not. Yeah, I might just have to grab this. All right, if I shift right click, we should see, oh, it actually configured it. Nice. All right, so we have, yeah, all of these. Good. I think that's everything. One thing I need to do, actually, I don't even know if I need to do this. It might just assemble. I'm gonna start by right-clicking these. And I'm gonna use my linked controller. Right-click that to activate it and hold up. Oh, right. It's not gonna move because we don't have any fuel inside of it, of course. So to activate our machine, we're actually gonna need to get a couple of buckets of water inside of here first. And I think the easiest way to do that is to dig beneath. And we're gonna need it right here on this block, as well as right here on this block. These are both stairs. It says grass block, but I promise that's a stair. Then right there. Nope, not there, because that is actually a, okay. So maybe break this. Right click that. This is not a load bearing panel. Here we go. And I'm hoping that one went in correctly. To test this, we should be able to pull water out of this corner. Okay, I do think that there is actually water in there. I was just, I forgot that there's a panel right here. So if we right click this one right there, there we go. There's our water. Okay, good. There we go. So now we are going to need a ton of lava for this over time. I think one bucket will run it for about 4 minutes, if I recall. So let's just get one bucket of lava inside of our fuel tank here. And I think we should be able to right click the steam engine with water. Maybe that's a creative only thing. Yeah, it might be. So we also have a hand crank, and I think it's somewhere inside of our shell here. So if you need to use a hand crank to start this thing, you can actually just put it on top of this rotation speed controller. We're gonna set this to, I think 64 should work. If not, we can lower that to 32. Yeah, let's try 32. Oh, actually, I'm wondering if this might be the issue. I just realized the steam engine didn't assemble properly. Here we go. So actually, we should put our hand crank here. Possibly. Let's see if that's actually a steam engine now. We should see it begin to pick up speed. I'm seeing that this clutch isn't activated, which is a little bit worrying. The steam engine does appear to be working now, though, so that's definitely a good sign, at least. Let's crank it up to 64. Should be speeding up a little bit now. Okay. Oh, right here. That is our power switch. That's right. Okay, good. All seems well so far. Just to give this thing another test, let's push up, down, no. Oh, okay, I accidentally just turned it on. Here we go. Oh. Okay. I'm thinking that didn't actually connect properly. Oh, that's so weird. Huh. I wonder what broke here. I wonder if it's missing a little bit of glue right there. By the way, to glue two separate physics objects together, you just need to use a slime ball. Basically, you right-click on the surface that you want to attach, and it will attach directly on those two faces. One thing I'm struggling with, though, is this a physics entity or not? I'm a little bit concerned here because it is floating off the ground, so I think it isn't. currently one. So I think I'm going to build up some support beneath. Yeah, this for sure is not currently a physics object. Okay. So this shouldn't be too bad to assemble. Let's just activate that. Looking good. And now hopefully I can connect this right here and here. Okay. Nothing broke, so that's good. And now let's try this. Oh, one more time. Okay, it's a little bit broken. Okay, I think I fixed that. So now the next test is to see whether or not the bore heads will begin to spin. So we control that with this lever here. Oh gosh, that's a big leg spike. All right. I might start off pretty slow. We also don't have goggles, so I can't tell exactly what that's running at. Okay, that's very slow, but it is working. Looking pretty good so far. I'm going to put them at about 50%, I think. And then try to even it out a little bit here. And I think I'm just going to head forward. And we can see and kind of watch how this thing works a little bit here. Oops. Right, okay. So A and D is forward. This is a little bit weird. I don't really like the controls on this thing. But it is kind of realistic to how a real track-based equipment would work. Okay, it's doing pretty good so far. I might need to speed up the rotation speed controller back here, though. Let's see. Right, I left it at 64. That might honestly be pretty good, though. But I do want to compare it to the creative version and just make sure that everything is running exactly how it did in creative. And then we can adjust from there. It's going to take a while to get used to W being up and down. Here we go. Oh, that thing is so good. Okay, down. We can clear whatever is above us. Oh, this thing is going to be so good for your mining. Okay, I'm looking down a little bit. So with this thing, I think I've probably mentioned this before, but it can get kind of stuck if you're going down at a pretty steep angle. So I don't think I'm going to set this thing up here, by the way. But wherever I do end up setting it up, I'm definitely going to have to go at a pretty low angle. All right, so I also haven't really given it much of a test on real terrain. So I am kind of curious to see how this thing just kind of drives around in the world. It's probably not going to be super great. In fact, I think I'm already stuck. What am I even stuck on? The track system is a little bit weird. Turning can be pretty difficult. Let's see if I can go up at an angle. Wow, this thing kind of struggles going uphill. I'm not entirely sure what it's getting stuck on, though. Uh-oh, that's not good. Oh, man. I've already flipped it over. Ah, jeez. Alright, I've spent a couple of hours digging a tunnel. As you can see, we did get pretty far. Not as far as we probably could have. I'm definitely trying to learn how to actually operate this thing. It is working really well, though. I'm really, really happy with it. So yeah, I did check to see how long this episode is, and we are definitely way over time. So I think I'm going to end things there for today. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you next time. Peace.